Hey guys, good evening. It is John C. Morley here, serial entrepreneur. Great to be with you. Do check out my hat. It says believemeachieve.com. And you can go there 24 hours a day for more of my amazing, inspiring creations to improve the quality of your life and others that you care so much about. All right, guys. We're going to get right into the show here. Thank you so much for being here, whether you're here at 10:48 p.m., 10:48 a.m., 3 a.m., 3 p.m., 6 a.m., 6 p.m. Doesn't really matter. Thank you so much for being here. Our master topic for the entire week, ladies and gentlemen, is understanding why emotional intelligence is important. It's a real doozy. Tonight's granular topic is how to get the hang of motivation. Well, before we can start with motivation in let's say, a very general sense, the thing I want to ask you is, what is motivation if we ask our good friend Merriam-Webster? Well, motivation, according to Merriam-Webster, is a noun. It is the act or process, they state, of motivating. And so if we really want to know what motivation is, we got to look up what the heck motivation means, right? Motivate. So motivate is to provide with a motive, to impel, to push forward. Motive is a noun, something such as a need or desire that causes a person to act. A recurrent phase or figure that is developed through the course of a musical composition. That's another motive, but that's different. So we're talking about something that's going to incite you to want to take action. All right, so now we know what motivation is. The next thing we have to understand what motivation is, in order to be motivated, there has to be a purpose. Now, a purpose that is so driven inside you that it comes from your core. Not just something like, I want candy, or I want to go take a walk, or I want to go see a movie. That's not coming from your core. Coming from your core is something that you not only sense as a purpose, but you can feel as a purpose. That's really important. So in order to understand motivation a little more, there are, like I said, basically some pillars of motivation. One of them is the one we're talking about, which is purpose. Purpose. It's the reason. It's the why of life. And I always say, if your why is not loud enough, then you got to get another why. Because if it's not passionate enough to get you burning inside to get moving, it's not going to do anything for you. The next thing I want to talk about is autonomy. So another part of motivation is autonomy. So this is the second leg, and it refers to the control of one's individuals that have their own actions. Individuals who have higher levels of autonomy are more likely to be motivated towards achieving their goals because they feel a sense of ownership over the actions. When you're doing something because somebody else tells you to do it, well, you probably won't do it. Autonomy gives us the ability to make decisions that align with our promises and our values. And it's a very strong point to pushing us to where we want to be in life. I think that's a very important thing. All right, so there is another piece to this lovely puzzle, which I'm sure you want to know about. And so when we think about the next piece, that's to deal with the word called mastery. Now, before I give you what mastery is here, I want to give you what Merriam-Webster says mastery is. So mastery, according to Merriam-Webster, it's a noun, the authority of a master, the upper hand in contest or competition, a possession or display of great skill or technique, a skill or knowledge that makes one master of a subject. I also call them a SME. A SME is a subject matter expert. That's like a little bit of an acronym for one. So when we think about mastery, it talks about the desire to want to improve and develop new skills. People are motivated by mastery, right? Regardless whether it's karate, whether it's cooking, whether it's learning a language. It could be a variety of things. And that whole concept of you just getting better drives you. It requires you to have something referred to as a growth mindset. If you don't have a growth mindset, well, then you're probably not going to achieve mastery. Mastery doesn't mean perfect, it just means that you have picked up significant skill in that area. Okay. And mastery, again, requires that growth mindset, which is founded on the core that one's abilities can be developed through hard work and dedication. I like to say it's not about hard work, it's about working smarter and not harder. Because people think if they just sweat or they really kill themselves to do something, that they're going to be a success. They're not always. And that frustrates a lot of people. Why? I think because people get tired and they want to get help to get to the next level, but for whatever reason they don't. Okay. I think that's probably a big thing. And I know what you're saying. I know you're saying to me, hey, John, this is very confusing. I know it's confusing. I didn't say it was going to be easy, did I? But if something gets you confused, okay, that means you have a strong desire. Like if it's something that's really, getting you to go a certain way, you have a desire for that. Okay. You have a desire. And that desire can take you to an entirely new level. An entirely new level. A level that maybe you didn't even know you were capable of reaching. Okay. So now that we understand that a little bit better, we can talk about another leg. There's different legs, right? So there's the purpose, there's the autonomy that we have control of being able to achieve our destiny, okay? Our promise to ourselves. Mastery, the fact that we want to get better at it. We have that growth mindset. And there's another one. It's called relatedness. John, what the heck is that? So it's the fourth leg. There are 5 legs. It refers to our desire for social connection and support. Individuals who have strong social connections and support are much more likely to be motivated toward achieving the promises they set out for themselves. It can be achieved through positive relationships, family, friends, and even colleagues, and even strangers. I know doing runs and, when I come in to the finish line, and even if there's nobody there that I know, even the strangers motivate me to push a little bit harder. They don't know my name, but they go, you can do it. You can do it. Yeah, come on. Or they might say my number, right? And I think that's a really good thing. It's a feeling. And a feeling gets us to want to do something. There's another leg. So we have purpose, we have autonomy, we have mastery, we have relatedness, and then we have the 5th leg, which is progress. Progress. This talks about the sense of accomplishment that the individual actually feels when they made progress toward the promise. Individuals will be able to measure their progress, and when they are able to do this, they'll be more motivated toward achieving more higher objectives. So I'll give you a perfect example of mine. When I was, I gotta say, probably I was like 5 or 6. You guys know I'm a Pisces, if you guys didn't know that. So Pisces love water. Now, I did love water, but I didn't know how to swim when I was younger. And when I went to, our camp that we had, they weren't giving me specialized attention to really help me. So my parents hired the people there that were teaching swimming, but they hired them for me on a private basis. I had one lady and I had another guy, and they both were very good at motivating me because they would give me drills and I could practice these drills in the pool or in the bay. And I'd be able to tell if I got better than where I was. And I think that's the challenge for a lot of people, whether we're talking about people that's trying to do something like whether it's cooking, baking, whether it's running, exercise, uh, being more fit. Okay, maybe being a greater speaker or being a better communicator. Okay, could be a variety of those things. And when we're able to dissect and say, wait a minute, I've now made progress. A wise person once said that if we can measure it, we can change it. This goes for a lot of things from social media to a lot of different processes like standard operating procedures. If we can measure it, we can change it. Let me say that again. If we can measure it, we can change it. Now, they said something a little bit different in the Forbes guide, and it was if you can measure it, you can manage it. Similar, right? Similar. I like the one, that you can change it. The definition of if you, or to say the quote, if you can measure it, if you can't measure it, you can't manage it, by Liz Ryan. If you can't measure it, you can't manage it. And she's saying not true. I have to tell you that if you can't quantify something, you don't know what to change. Numbers are the key for lots of things. They are a barometer for us. Whether we're talking about sports, we're talking about, a 50-yard dash, a 100-yard dash, a long sprint, a 2-mile, a 5-mile, a 10-mile, a 20-mile. Or maybe we're talking about how many pull-ups you're doing or how many push-ups you're doing or how many planks you're doing or how many seconds you're holding that, right? Or maybe we're talking about how efficient is the house with the RF factor, right? What is a good RF factor for insulation? What's a good RF factor? And they call them R values, basically. And so it depends on what part of the country you live in. So, for example, I live in New Jersey, which has a climate zone, according here to the map, which is not the easy. It's basically it's a mixed humid climate. They call it a 4B. So if your attic is uninsulated, it should be R60. If you already have 3 to 4 inches of insulation, it should be R49. And your floor should be R19. Okay. So the question you might be asking me is, so what is an R factor in insulation? And, that's a very good question. Recommended home insulation R values. Okay. R stands for resistance, in case you were wondering. It stands for resistance. So when you check insulation specs, people ask, what is the R value? It means how is a certain thing determined? So we're talking about what are the minimum recommended values of R for attics, 2x4, 2x6, and so on. And you can find a complete set of insulation R value charts many different places. But it's important to know what type of R factor you need. That's very, very important for the ceiling, for the floors. And so what does R mean? So R value is a thermal resistance. It is basically how you put good insulation or insulators and material that is in that number. So it measures the considerable reach, but it's based on research toward the areas like 50s, 60s in thermal conductivity, or K values. So a K value is a measurement of heat that flows through 1 square foot of material. Pretty cool, right? So a K value is a measurement of heat that flows through 1 square foot of material with 1 inch thickness in 1 hour for each degree of temperature difference between the indoor and outdoor temperature. Let me say that again. So an R value is a thermal resistance, and the K value is a measurement of heat that flows through 1 square foot of material with 1 inch thickness in 1 hour for each degree of the temperature difference between them. We calculate an R value from the K value using a simple equation. I'm not going to get into it too deep with you, but it's pretty simple. R minus value, which is the R value, equals 1 divided by the K value. So the R value is equal to 1 divided by the K value. Pretty easy, right? So the point I was trying to make is that numbers are everywhere in our world, right? So if we knew that the temperature in our home was X degrees, and we know that when it's, let's say we'd like to keep our home in the summertime, we'd like to keep it around 74, 75 degrees Fahrenheit. If we know that, and if we suddenly know that it's hotter, well, we know we have to adjust it. We have to change our thermostat, right? So again, if we are able to quantify something, then we're able to change it. Again, what did we talk about today? Talked about a lot. We talked about how to get the hang of motivation. Motivation comes with a purpose, that core, that loud why value, the autonomy of you being able to be in charge of it. Okay, the and the fourth level there. So we had the purpose, autonomy, mastery is the third one, and the fourth one is relatedness. And then we have progress. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 5 legs. Ladies and gentlemen, I am John C. Morley, serial entrepreneur. It's been a privilege, pleasure, and honor to be with you this fantastic evening. And today you learned about R values, right? You learned about R values, and I bet you probably didn't plan on learning R values and K values. So I hope you guys had a great time with me tonight. I hope you'll definitely go to believemeachieve.com, like, love, and support all my wonderful content. Remember to follow me on all my great stuff, including TikTok. And I'll catch you guys in another show real soon. And we'll keep talking more about the things that are under emotional intelligence and why it's so important that we grasp this. Have yourself a great rest of your evening, and I'll catch you tomorrow.